Hi everyone, Dr. Hotami is here. In this video, we're going to talk about the white blood cells or leukocytes. We're going to talk about different type of white blood cells, their structure, their feature, and also their function. Okay, you might ask yourself why they called white blood cells. Okay, let me remind you. When we talked about the blood composition, we actually withdraw the blood and place it in the tube and centrifuge it. And then after centrifugation, we found that the bottom layer of our tube was the red color, which we said that is our RBC. And then the top layer of our test tube was the yellow color, which it was actually the plasma, the 55% of our blood, which then, so here we have plasma, and but there was a very thin layer between this yellow and red color. This whitish layer is composed of the white blood cells, which is gonna be just less than 1% of our blood. It would be white blood cells or buffy coat, which is these whitish layer. So then we call these white blood cells because they do not have the red pigment as the red blood cells have. And then after we separated these the layers of blood, we can see the white blood cell in that whitish part. Okay, now let's talk about the white blood cells general features. They are the large cells. Actually, we can say they are the only complete and real cells in our blood. So we call these red blood cells and white blood cells and also platelets as the formed elements. So the blood, which is a connective tissue, is composed of the form elements plus plasma, right? And we said form elements is red blood cells, white blood cells, and also platelets. We talked about the red blood cells and platelets in another videos, and now we're going to focus on learning the white blood cells. So we say they are the only real cells because the red blood cell, the mature red blood cell, they don't have nucleus or other organelles, so they are the only cells in our body don't have a nucleus. And then platelets, there are even a pieces of the cell that are not the real cells, but the only cells they have nucleus and all the organelles are the white blood cells. So if you look at the blood smear under microscope, the only cells with nucleus, these are white blood cells. What's their job? And we said only less than 1% of the blood would be white blood cells. So, where would be the other white blood cells? Where do we have these white blood cells? Isn't it blood their home? The answer is no. Blood is not home for white blood cells. Actually, the white blood cells, the home would be our lymphatic organs, like your lymph node, thymus, spleen, because white blood cells, they belong to our immune system. And they are going to be found in our blood as protection. So they fight infection and they are an important part of our immune system. So their lifespan can be different. Some of them live for only days, while others live months or years. So we have like different type of white blood cells. So they are categorized into two main groups based on the presence or absence of visible granules in their cytoplasm. If you can find any granules inside of their cytoplasm, we call them as granulocytes. Like, for example, the white blood cell with the nucleus, and then you can see the visible granules inside of their cytoplasm. That is one of the granulocytes white blood cells. And we also have the white blood cells, which they do not have any visible granules in their cytoplasm, and they belong to the agranulocyte, as A means no or without. So then we have two granulocyte and agranulocyte category of white blood cell, and on each of these categories we can divide them to these subgroups. So under granulocyte or granular leukocytes, we have neutrophil, eosinophil, and basophil. The neutrophil, they have a like segmented nucleus. They only have one nucleus, but their nucleus has like 3 to 5 segments. And then in their cytoplasm, you can find the kind of bright or light purple color granules. So these are neutrophil. And then eosinophil, they have bilobed nucleus, which then in their cytoplasm, you can find pinkish, orange or red granules. These are neutrophil. And then we have basophil, which in their cytoplasm, you can see blue or dark granules, which these granules can mask their nucleus. So these are the in granulocyte, as we have neutrophil, eosinophil, and basophil. And then agranulocyte, we have lymphocyte, which is a small white blood cell with a large round nucleus and rim of cytoplasm. And the monocyte, which is the largest leukocyte, and they have a bean shape or kidney shape nucleus. Okay, so we have neutrophil, which is the most abundant leukocyte in our blood, and basophil, which is the least one. So there is the like mnemonic, which you can remember, the most abundant white blood cells to least abundant white blood cell, which it says never let monkeys eat bananas. Let's see how does it work. N stands for neutrophil, which means neutrophil are the most abundant leukocyte in our blood. It means like around 60 to 70% of white blood cells are neutrophils. And then L stands for lymphocyte, means after neutrophil, lymphocyte are more. And then M stands for monocyte, then we have monocyte more. So number 1 is neutrophil, number 2 is lymphocyte, number 3 is monocyte, number 4 is eosinophil, and the least one would be the banana, the basophil. So if you look at blood smear under microscope, you barely can find the basophil. It means like less than 1% of the white blood cells would be basophil. So as you can see, they have different structure or feature, different name, and they have different functions. So let's review each of them. Neutrophils, so as we said, they have a multi-lobed nucleus, and also they have these kind of light purple granules, and these are the most abundant white blood cell, like between 50 to 70% of all white blood cell would be neutrophils. So it's so easy to find neutrophils in blood smear, and they are going to fight bacteria. They're gonna destroy the bacteria and would be a lot in bacterial infection. So whenever they want to like understand or diagnose if someone has bacterial infection, they go and count the number of neutrophils. If they have like more than normal count of neutrophils, it means that they have bacterial infection. So neutrophils would be a lot in the bacterial infection. And one of the features of the white blood cell is that they actually can leave the blood and go to the like tissues, which is normal for leukocyte. See, which this process or mechanism is called diapedesis. So this mechanism is called diapedesis. And then the eosinophil. Eosinophil, they have bilobed nucleus, which means their nucleus has 2 lobes, and they have many large orange or pinkish or red granules, and they actually destroy parasitic worms. So it means in parasitic infections, there are gonna be a lot of eosinophils. Then we have basophils, which we said the basophils are the of the rarest white blood cells. So they also have the lobed nucleus, and they have lots of the blue and dark granules which can mask their nucleus, and they have the granules actually going to produce histamine, which histamine is the chemical would be released during the allergic reaction. So then basophils would be found a lot during the allergic reaction as they're going to release the histamine. So the allergic reaction is not always bad. This is a mechanism in our body which is going to protect us. But whenever this allergic reaction is like beyond, so we need to use antihistamine to kind of stop this allergic reaction. So histamine is going to dilate the blood vessels but then constrict the breathing passageway, like it can happen during the asthma attack, which then we need to stop these allergic reactions. And then let's talk about the lymphocyte, one of our agranulocyte. So we said never let monkeys eat bananas, right? So this means that lymphocytes are the second abundant leukocyte in our blood. We have two types of lymphocyte. B lymphocyte and T lymphocyte, or B cell and T cell. As you can see, these are a small cell. They have a large round nucleus and a rim of cytoplasm. And these B cells and T cells, they have the same shape and structure, but their action is different. B cells producing antibodies, which then antibodies can mark the pathogens and then destroy them, but T cells directly is going to destroy the pathogens or like tumor cells, and then that is the reason our lymphocytes are the most important immune cells. And then do not forget monocyte, which these are the largest white blood cell. Look at their size, and also they have a kidney or bean-shaped nucleus. This is important because like other white blood cells, they can leave the blood vessels as through the mechanism is called diapedesis, but these monocytes can become another cell in our tissues, and this cell is called macrophages. So monocyte can leave the blood and go to the tissues and become macrophages, which macrophages can live in our tissues for years as their job is to engulf pathogens, old cells, and debris, and they are part of our immunity as well. Okay, so then speaking about white blood cells, where are they gonna be produced? Again, a red bone marrow because they have a stem cell, so they can form or they can divide and form the other type of stem cells, and finally they can make the all type of the white blood cells: lymphocyte, monocyte, neutrophil, eosinophil, and basophil. All of them are going to be produced in our red bone marrow. Okay, so hopefully you learn about the structure of the and features of the all type of white blood cells and their function. Now let's test your understanding. Please, let's read this question together and find the best answer and correct answer. Which of the following is the most abundant form element in blood? What was your answer? Hopefully you answered red blood cells. So one of the key to find the correct answer is to read the question carefully. It says most abundant form elements, and then you should ask yourself, what was the form elements? So form elements can be RBCs, white BCs, and platelets, right? Which one is the most abundant? Just remember that This after centrifugation, which we got just 45% RBCs and only 1% white blood cells and platelets. That's the reason if we are asking most abundant form elements, the answer would be red blood cell. And now let's change this wording and ask which of the following is the most abundant leukocytes or white blood cells in our blood. Then your answer should be neutrophil. Okay, because neutrophil would be 50 to 70% of the all white blood cells in our blood. Correct? Okay. Next question. Which of the following form elements can leave the blood and move into tissues? Can red blood cells leave the blood and move into tissues? That is the one we call this as bleeding, and we don't want this to happen. Platelets? Platelets' job is to stop bleeding. So they actually cannot leave the blood. Plasma? Plasma is not even a form element. And also they cannot leave the, they can leak from the blood, but they are not form elements. But white blood cells, like all of them, can leave the blood and move into tissues. Some of them can come back to the blood, and some of them, like monocyte, can become macrophages and live there for years. Okay, so thank you so much for watching.